Hello, my name is Sam, and I am a student learning English. I want to tell you about my experience of studying English in London and my wonderful teacher. You can read my story, and I hope you can learn English with me. It was a sunny summer day. I was on a train, going to a new place. Two women were sitting across from me. They were talking in English, but I couldn't understand much of what they said. I was learning English, but I was still a beginner and knew only a few words. I felt a little nervous, but excited about the new things I would see. When I arrived at my destination, I walked to a modern cafe where my job training was going to begin. I was unsure what to expect since I had never worked before. As I entered the cafe, I was surprised by how nice it was. The cafe had a lively atmosphere, serving coffee, tea, chocolate cakes, and sandwiches. To my surprise, my boss was only 25 years old, and she had a lot of experience working there for just over 2 years. She greeted me with a smile and started teaching me how to make coffee, wash dishes, and interact with customers. Everything was new to me, and I could only remember about 20% of what she taught me at first. But as I practiced the tasks, she patiently corrected my mistakes, making me feel more comfortable. I felt tired after my first day, but I was happy to have a job. The next day was Friday, and I returned to school. During class, a student named Lisa asked a good question. Sometimes when I speak, I'm not sure if I am using correct grammar. What should I do if I want to learn more grammar? Our teacher, Mrs. Johnson, smiled and replied, "That's a great question. There are two types of students. Some students want to learn English to speak fluently, and some want to pass exams. Each group learns differently. For those who want to speak well, you don't need to focus too much on grammar. When you learned your native language, you did it naturally. You can learn English grammar by using the language in real life. The best way to do this is by reading a lot. Books are written in good grammar, and when you read, you learn how sentences are formed. I also recommend a technique called shadowing. When you shadow, you listen to native speakers and repeat what they say. This helps you practice the correct grammar without needing to memorize rules. If you want to learn more grammar while speaking, you can visit grammarinlevels.com. This website shows you what grammar is important based on your level of English. Mrs. Johnson continued, "For students who need English to pass an exam, you should focus on the grammar that is important for that exam. It's good to practice with past versions of the exam. While your actual exam may be different, the format is usually the same. Practicing with previous tests can help you feel ready when it's time for the real thing." Lisa thanked Mrs. Johnson and said, "This is good news. I don't like studying grammar much. I learn English because I want to speak fluently." I felt the same way. It was good to learn that I could improve my grammar just by reading. After class, I went to grammarinlevels.com, and I found it very helpful. The site has grammar rules and examples for 3 levels: 1000, 2000, and 3000 words. In the afternoon, I went back to the cafe for my second day of work. I felt more confident and could do many things on my own. Although my boss was always ready to help if I needed it, I began to realize that my job was not too hard, and I enjoyed practicing my English while talking to customers. One customer, an elderly man named Meister Brown, came in for a cup of coffee. I took his order, and to my surprise, I was able to speak with him without much difficulty. Mr. Brown was very friendly, and he told me about his life. I felt proud that I could communicate with him. Later that week, I had a conversation with my classmate, Sarah. "How was your first week at work?" she asked. "It was great," I replied. "I met many nice customers, and I learned how to make different drinks. I even spoke to an older man who told me stories about his travels." "That's wonderful," Sarah said. "I think talking to people will help you a lot with your English." "I hope so," I said with a smile. "I want to improve my speaking skills." After a few days at the cafe, I started to feel more comfortable with my tasks. My boss showed me how to make different kinds of coffee, like cappuccinos and lattes. I enjoyed learning these new skills. One day, while I was cleaning a table, I overheard two customers discussing their favorite books. I wanted to join the conversation, but felt shy. I took a deep breath and walked over to them. "Excuse me, what are you talking about?" I asked. They looked at me and smiled. "We are talking about our favorite books. Do you have a favorite?" one of them asked. "Yes, I love reading adventure stories," I said. "I recently finished a book about a treasure hunt." "That sounds exciting," the other customer replied. "Reading is a great way to improve your English too." I felt happy that I had spoken up and joined their conversation. It made me realize that talking to people is a good way to practice English. The following week, we had another class with Mrs. Johnson. She asked us about our weekend plans. I shared that I was going to work at the cafe again and planned to read a new book. "Reading is very important for learning," she said. "It helps you understand grammar in context. The more you read, the better your writing and speaking will become." I nodded, agreeing with her. After class, I decided to visit the local library to find more books. I wanted to challenge myself with stories that were a bit harder but still interesting. At the library, I picked up a book about a young detective who solves mysteries. I started reading it at home and found it exciting. Even though some words were difficult, I didn't give up. I looked up the words I didn't know and wrote them down in my notebook. One afternoon, while I was working, I had an interesting conversation with a woman named Maria. She came in to order a sandwich. "Hello, do you work here?" she asked with a smile. "Yes, I am training here," I replied. "That's great. How are you finding it?" she asked. "I really like it. I am learning a lot and getting to practice my English," I said. "That's wonderful. I moved here a year ago, and I remember how hard it was to learn a new language. Just keep practicing, and you will improve quickly," Maria encouraged me. Her words motivated me. I realized that many people face the same challenges when learning a new language. I thanked her for her kind words, and we chatted a bit more before she left. As the weeks went by, I continued to improve my English skills. I practiced reading every day, and my speaking became more confident. My boss even complimented me on my progress. "Sam, you are doing really well. I can see how much you are learning," she said one day. "Thank you. I work hard to improve," I replied, feeling proud of myself. On a Friday, after a busy week at the cafe, I returned to school. Our teacher asked us if anyone had tried a new method of learning. I raised my hand and shared my experience with shadowing. "I practiced shadowing over the weekend," I said. "I listened to recordings of native speakers and repeated what they said. It helped me with my pronunciation." Mrs. Johnson smiled and said, "That's fantastic. Shadowing is a great way to improve your speaking skills. Remember, the more you practice, the easier it becomes." One student named David looked curious. "How do you do shadowing?" he asked. "It's simple. You just listen to someone speaking and try to repeat what they say, imitating their tone and speed. You can find videos or audio recordings online," I explained. "That sounds fun. I'll try it this weekend," David said enthusiastically. I felt happy that I could share something helpful with my classmates. It made me realize that we are all learning together, supporting each other along the way. As time passed, I began to feel more confident in my speaking abilities. One day, while working at the cafe, I met a group of tourists who were visiting London. They were from Spain and didn't speak much English. They needed help ordering their food, so I stepped in to assist them. "Hello, can I help you?" I asked, smiling. "Yes, please. We want to order," one of them said, looking a bit confused. I took their orders, helping them with the menu. I was proud of myself for being able to communicate effectively, even with people from another country. After the tourists left, my boss praised me. "Great job, Sam. You handled that really well. You are improving so much." "Thank you. I am working hard to get better," I replied, feeling motivated. A few weeks later, Mrs. Johnson announced an upcoming speaking competition in our class. I want each of you to prepare a short speech about your favorite hobby or interest. This will be a great way to practice your speaking skills. I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. I wanted to do well, but worried about speaking in front of everyone. After class, I sat down to think about my speech. I decided to talk about my love for reading. It was something I enjoyed and felt passionate about. As I practiced my speech at home, I focused on speaking clearly and confidently. I wrote down key points to remember and rehearsed in front of a mirror. It was helpful to see myself speak, and it made me feel more comfortable. On the day of the competition, I felt butterflies in my stomach. I was nervous, but I reminded myself that I had practiced a lot. When it was my turn to speak, I took a deep breath and walked to the front of the class. Hello everyone, my name is Sam, and today I want to talk about my favorite hobby, reading, I began. As I spoke, I felt my nerves start to fade away. I shared how reading allows me to escape into different worlds and learn new things. When I finished, my classmates applauded, and I felt proud of myself for overcoming my fear. Mrs. Johnson smiled and said, "Well done, Sam. You did a great job." I was relieved and happy. It felt amazing to express myself in English and share something I loved with my classmates. As my time in London continued, I grew more comfortable with the language. I became more confident in speaking and made new friends in my English class. I learned about their cultures and shared experiences, which made my learning journey even more exciting. One day, while working at the cafe, I met a man named Tom. He was a traveler from Canada and came in for a coffee. We started talking, and I learned that he was on a trip around the world. "Wow, that sounds amazing," I said, fascinated. "Yes, I love traveling and meeting new people. What about you?" Tom asked. "I'm learning English and working here at the cafe," I replied. "That's great. English is very useful when you travel. Just keep practicing and you will be fluent in no time," he encouraged. Tom's words inspired me. I realized that speaking with native speakers was an excellent way to improve my skills. I thanked him for the chat and wished him a great trip. Over time, I learned to embrace mistakes as part of my learning. I remembered what Mrs. Johnson said. Making mistakes is okay. Everyone makes them, even in their native languages. One day, I made a mistake while taking an order at the cafe. A customer asked for milk with no sugar, and I accidentally wrote sugar with no milk. When the customer received their drink, they looked confused. "Excuse me, this is not what I ordered," they said politely. I quickly apologized. "I'm so sorry. Let me fix that for you right away." I felt embarrassed, but I knew that it was a part of learning. I corrected my mistake and made sure the next order was perfect. That experience taught me not to be afraid of making errors. Each mistake was a lesson, and I learned to handle them with grace. As the months passed, I became more involved in my English studies. I began to help my classmates who struggled with certain topics. I found joy in teaching others and sharing what I had learned. One day, I organized a study group with some of my friends. We gathered at the library, and I prepared materials to help them with their reading and grammar. It was rewarding to see them improve and gain confidence. "Thank you, Sam. You explain things so well," one friend, Alex, said with a smile. "I'm happy to help. We can all learn together," I replied. My experience in London was changing me. I was not only improving my English, but also growing as a person. I became more open to new experiences, meeting people from different backgrounds and learning about their lives. One evening, while on my way home from the cafe, I saw a sign for an English-speaking club meeting at the community center. I hesitated for a moment, but decided to join. It was a great opportunity to practice speaking in a relaxed setting. At the meeting, I met many friendly people who shared their experiences of learning English. We played games and had discussions that helped me feel more at ease with the language. As I continued to attend the club meetings, my confidence grew. I made new friends, and we often practiced speaking together outside the meetings. We explored the city, visited museums, and tried different restaurants. One day, my friend Mia suggested we go to a local theater to watch a play in English. It will be fun, and we can practice our listening skills, she said excitedly. I agreed, and we went to see the play. It was a fantastic experience. Although I didn't understand every word, I enjoyed the story and the actors' performances. It was a great way to improve my listening skills while having fun. After the play, we talked about it over dinner. What was your favorite part? Mia asked. I loved the scene when the hero solved the mystery. It was so exciting, I replied. I thought the ending was great too, Mia said. We should go to more plays together. As the year went by, I became more involved in my English studies and my work at the cafe. I even started thinking about my future. I realized that learning English opened many doors for me. I wanted to explore new opportunities, travel, and possibly go to university. One day, while talking to my boss, I shared my thoughts. I want to continue studying English and maybe go to college in the future, I said. That sounds like a great plan, Sam. You're doing well, and I believe you can achieve your goals. Just keep working hard. She encouraged me. Her support made me feel motivated to pursue my dreams. I started researching colleges and courses that interested me. As I approached the end of my year in London, I reflected on my journey. I had come so far since my first day on the train, feeling nervous and unsure. Now, I felt confident in my abilities and excited about my future. On my last day at the cafe, I felt a mix of emotions. I was sad to leave, but grateful for the experiences I had gained. My boss organized a small farewell party for me, and my co-workers shared kind words. Thank you all for helping me learn and grow, I said with a smile. I will miss you. You're always welcome back, Sam. Good luck with your studies, my boss replied. As I left the cafe, I felt proud of my achievements. I had learned so much, made wonderful friends, and improved my English skills. I knew that my journey was just beginning, and I was excited about what lay ahead. With a heart full of gratitude and hope, I looked forward to my next adventure, knowing that I could conquer any challenges that came my way. I took a deep breath, embraced the fresh air, and stepped into a future filled with possibilities.